All right, Shalom Akim. Back again, and just wanted to continue this lesson here dealing with the with NATO, because tomorrow marks a major milestone for them, and but on our end it's prophecy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's 70 years, right? And to us, well, the Lord. We always say that the Lord deals with numbers. Numbers are spiritual too. Like the number seven. you know. Um, and this goes back to the old school. But we had like a number system, and seven um always represented completion. Like you have seven days out of a week, right? So we attribute the number seven to completion. And so tomorrow marks 70 years that NATO uh, since the creation of NATO. All right, and like I said before, we got the sign here. All right, and you could go to you know for GMS members, camps that need this sign. You could go right to the greatmillstone.info, and I believe you hit the drop down. I believe it says media, I believe, and then you can find this, and you could get this printed out somewhere. All right, and you can make a sign out of it. But anyway, like I was bringing out earlier, this is the sign of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, which is NATO, and they're all the members of this beast, right? First of all, the 7 heads. What are the 7 heads, right? This is good to go through this, because this is dealing with prophecy, So this is a major thing to know. All GMS members should know this, all right? This breakdown here of who is the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. So I'm gonna proceed, right? It says the 7 heads equals 7 governments or kingdoms ruled by Esau, right? And it begins with, as you see here, the Greeks, right? You had the Greeks. Then after the Greeks came the Romans, all right? After the Romans came the Spanish, right? After the Spanish came the French. After the French came I believe Britain. Then you had Germania Major and Germania Minor, and then out of Britain, I'm sorry, Britain comes after Germania Major, Germania Minor, right? Then comes Britain, and then after Britain comes America. America came out of Britain, right? So these make up the 7 heads of this beast, right? The 10 horns. Oh, and all those nations they are all what? They are all Caucasian nations, so-called white people. All right, which according to the Bible they are the people of Esau, Edom, according to the Bible. Okay, and you can read about Esau, Edom in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter. So, and then you have the 10 horns. The 10 horns represent the European Economic Community, but their name was later changed to the EU, which is the European Union. All right, and I'm gonna just go ahead and read this real quick. Might be a little blurry. I apologize for that, but it says the 10 horns represent the common market or the European Economic Community, the EEC, established in 1958. Today, the EEC is known as the EU, the European Union, and I'm gonna name the 10 how would you say, original members, right? Member nations of the EU. So it's Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, or it should be the Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and West Germany. All right, those are the original member nations of the European Union. Give me a second. Right, and you notice how it says England there. That's where you get, Britain, right? They're doing the Brexit, which means it's Britain trying to exit this union, the European Union. So it's like everything is coming to a close, So I won't be alarmed if after tomorrow, certain member nations of NATO start leaving NATO, and NATO just starts to dismantle. All right, because we're living at the time of the end. Yahweh Shai is coming with the holy angels to destroy this beast system. All right, controlled and ruled by the so-called Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon people, if you will, which they are according to the Bible, the children of Esau, whose name was changed to Edom. All right. So anyway, I got some articles here, and just to explain, who is NATO, what is NATO, and why was it originally established, right? All right, so I got this article from a site called history.state.gov, Office of the Historian. As you see, it says milestones from 1945 to 1952. And this is what NATO means. All right, NATO is an acronym, and it stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Right, established in 1949. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created in 1949 by the United States, Canada, and several Western European nations to provide collective security against the Soviet Union. That was the main reason why they were created, to defend themselves against Russia, and this was during the whole Cold War era, which technically there's still a Cold War. It just went underground. All right. Because why do they still have it going? Why do they keep it going? Showing you that Russia was always a threat to the U.S., right, and to different other European nations. And Russia's gonna play a key role in prophecy because they are represented as Magog in the scriptures. And they're gonna go down and encamp around the land of Israel, okay, and they're gonna destroy it. And so that's in prophecy. You can read about that in the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. You could read Ezekiel, the 39th chapter. You could read Revelation, the 20th chapter. Okay. So the United States is represented in the scriptures as Babylon the Great. And also it is also represented as the eighth, right, that goeth into perdition. It is also represented as Edom. Okay. So now let me read on. Here you have the signing of the NATO treaty. Let me see if I can blow this up. All right. And now, who do you see there? What peoples do you see there? You don't see any. Colored people there, right? So people of color. You don't see no black people there. You don't see no Latino people there, man. All right. You don't see no African nation There no you don't see the Chinese there, anyone of Oriental descent. You don't see anyone from. Hello. Yeah, all you see is a group of white men, right? So-called white men, all right, and they're signing this treaty. Now, what are these men? These are Edomites, all right. Every last one of them, they're Edomites, and they are the Lord's enemies. They are our enemy, all right, the children of Esau, and they are the ones who rule and control this world, all right. So let me just I just blew that up just to make a point. So it says the signing of the NATO treaty. NATO was the first peacetime military alliance the United States entered into outside of the Western Hemisphere. After the destruction of the Second World War, the nations of Europe struggled to rebuild their economies and ensure their security. The former required the former required a massive influx of aid to help the war-torn landscapes reestablish industries and produce food, and the latter required assurances against a resurgent Germany or incursions from the Soviet Union. The United States viewed an economically strong, rearmed, and integrated Europe as vital to the prevention of communist expansion across the continent. As a result, Secretary of State George Marshall proposed a program of large-scale economic aid to Europe. The resulting European Recovery Program, or Marshall Plan, not only facilitated European economic integration but promoted the idea of shared interests and cooperation between the United States and Europe. Soviet refusal either to participate in the Marshall Plan or to allow its satellite states in Eastern Europe to accept the economic assistance helped to reinforce the growing division between East and West in Europe. In 1947 to 1948, a series of events caused the nations of Western Europe to become concerned about their physical and political security, and the United States to become more closely involved with European affairs. The ongoing civil war in Greece, along with tensions in Turkey, led President Harry S. Truman to assert that the United States would provide economic and military aid to both countries, as well as to any other nation struggling against. In 1947 through 1948, a series of events caused the nations of Western Europe to become concerned about their physical and political security, and the United States to become more closely involved with European affairs. But see, that was done because the Lord put it in their minds to do that, because they were to form the beast, right? They were to complete the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, like it was prophesied by the Apostle John, Saint John, while he was on the island of Patmos, and the Lord gave him those revelations, right? Those visions of what was going to happen, right? Except Saint John saw an actual beast with 7 heads. I mean, yeah, with 7 heads and 10 horns coming out of the sea. He didn't understand exactly what it was, but it was talking about these Edomite nations coming together, all right, for a single purpose, all right. So reading on, right? It says the ongoing civil war in Greece, along with tensions in Turkey, led President Harry S. Truman to assert that the United States would provide economic and military aid to both countries, as well as to any other nation struggling against an attempt at subjugation. A Soviet-sponsored coup in Czechoslovakia resulted in a communist government coming to power on the borders of Germany. Attention also focused on elections in Italy, as the Communist Party had made significant gains among Italian voters. Furthermore, events in Germany also caused concern. The occupation and governance of Germany after the war had long been disputed, and in mid-1948, Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin chose to test Western resolve by implementing a blockade against West Berlin, which was then under joint US, British, and French control but surrounded by Soviet-controlled East Germany. This Berlin crisis brought the United States and the Soviet Union to the brink of conflict. Although a massive airlift to resupply the city for the duration of the blockade helped to prevent an outright confrontation, these events caused U.S. officials to grow increasingly wary of the possibility that the countries of Western Europe might deal with their security concerns by negotiating with the Soviets. To counter this possible turn of events, the Truman administration considered the possibility of forming a European-American alliance that would commit the United States to bolstering the security of Western Europe. All right, so that's all. You could read more on that. I will put a link down at the in the description box, and you can read on further. Concerning NATO. So now what I want to do is go into, obviously, right, and of course, scripture. Between today and tomorrow, I'll probably make a series of additions to this topic. Just because for what would you say? Because of interest in time, interest, because of the interest of time. So I'm going to read a little bit here in Ezekiel 38th chapter, and then more than likely I'll close it out, and then Lord willing come back later. Just doing a whole lot of running around today, after I got out of work. So but anyway, this is Ezekiel the 38th chapter, and and within Ezekiel the 38th chapter is prophecy, all right, of what's going to happen in the near future. Okay, and the Lord gave this prophecy to Ezekiel thousands of years ago, man. Okay, so I don't know, we'll say what, I would have to look up the approximate date of when Ezekiel was alive. So but anyway, it's just Ezekiel 38 verse 1. It says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him." So now, first you have to ask yourself, who is Gog, and what's the land of Magog, right? So for that, you have to go to what we call the Table of Nations, and this is the Genesis, the 10th chapter, okay? Because all nations who are alive today stem from either three sons they came from Noah. Either from Ham, Shem, or Japheth, Okay. Now the lands uh, um, were named by their well by their founding fathers, so to speak, right? So anyway, um, so this is the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, in the first verse, and it reads, "Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog. There you go, Magog, and that's who we're concentrating on. And Madai, that's who um they they're known. Today you'll call them the Medes. The Medes. You had the Medes and the Persians. You had the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tiras. And you know these sons, these children went out and inhabited the earth, man, and they got possessions, and wherever they went, they named their lands after them. So we're concentrating on Magog, okay? That's who we're concentrating on. So now we're gonna go to the an ancient biblical map to find out what landmass did Magog inhabit, right? Okay, so as you see here, I just googled ancient biblical map Magog, and a series of maps came up. This one was more prominent because it shows you the ancient names and then the modern names of these lands. So, what do you see up here on your at the top? Russia, right? And then you see the names uh, um, in the white, square boxes there. I mean, rectangular boxes. Those are the ancient names. So what did you see there by Russia? Magog, man. So are the people in Russia now the people of Magog? No. Those people, they were the people of Japheth. All right. They got pushed out of their lands, and they got pushed out by Esau, the Edomites, man. Just like they always do to people, they push people out their lands, man. Steal their lands, right? Kill the people. Well, that's what happened to. Now, did were they destroyed altogether? No, the people of Magog, you know, and we believe they were pushed. They were pushed, like to places like like Australia. You got the Aborigines of Australia. They're black, but they're not our people, man. They got a total different spirit. They're heathens. All right, those are not our people, man. All right. Just like the original Africans are not, our people. Just because they're black, they're not our people. They have a complete different spirit than us, man. All right, than the Israelites. Um, and then you got the islands like Hawaii and the different islands like that. Those island chains out there in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Islanders. A lot of them are Japheth. So the people who are there now in this land, Magog, that was changed to Russia. Those people are Edomites up there. Okay, and so that's how we associate who is Magog today. All right, and because it's just prophetic, you know. So the people of Russia are the people of Magog. All right, so just keep that in mind as we proceed to read in Ezekiel the 38th chapter. So back in Ezekiel 38 and chapter 1, and it reads, And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, which I just showed you. The land of Magog today would be what is known as the land of Russia today. The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord power. Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And Meshech and Tubal, that's today, that's known as the land of Turkey. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, right? Because they were known as the Soviet Union, right? They were what do you call it? Communist. So and then now in today's time, they're doing some kind of adopted the more Western kind of democratic way of governing, right? So the Lord's gonna turn them back from that and the Lord's gonna bring them back to being communist, all right, socialist, communist. So, and then he's gonna have them to come up against Esau in the land of Israel, and also to fight against America, all right. And this is gonna culminate into the last war, right, the Third World War, which is the war that ends all wars, because that war will be in that war, nuclear weapons will be used, and there'll be many lives destroyed, all right, because of the fire that those weapons yield, which are the thermonuclear missiles, all right, which those are the weapons of the Heavenly Father's choice. And it reads, 4th verse, And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, which that's Iran, Ethiopia and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Togarmah of the north quarters. See those names, Gomer, Togarmah, stuff like that. Those are the names that came of the children of Japheth. It's talking about the people who are dwelling in those lands now. Okay. It says the house of Togarmah in the north quarters, and all his bands and many people with thee. So there's going to be a lot of people on Russia's side, man, banning with Russia, man, to fight against Babylon, which is America, and to fight against them so-called Jews that are in our land now. Okay. And pretty much what's going to happen, they're all going to destroy themselves. Is the Lord setting themselves to fight against themselves, right? So that they could be destroyed, so that his people, which is us, the real Hebrew Israelites, can go back into our land that he chose for us, man. 7th verse. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years, we're living in the latter years now, thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people, against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. It's talking about the Russians. They're going to come like a storm, right, to attack them so-called Jews. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord power. It shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, right, this is when the evil thought comes into the king of Magog, all right, to come against America. It says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. That's America. Above, that's speaking about the land of Israel, where the so-called Jews living there today. All right. And it says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, right? Because that's what's happening here in the land of America, man. In comparison to the other nations, um, the people here in America, the Americans, they are ignorant of what's happening. They are ignorant that they're living in a time of war. They are ignorant that anything can happen at any time, all right, to them, and they also don't care. They don't care about shit. Okay, the majority of the Americans, man, and they're stupid and dumb as hell. They believe whatever their government tells them. They watch these talking head shows and believe everything that they tell them. All right, so they're ignorant, man. They dumb as hell, man, and that's why they're gonna get caught with their pants down, for lack of a better term, better word. It says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates. Right, you got you got Trump. He's trying to build that wall at the border, right? And look, man, that's not gonna defend America from the thermonuclear missiles that are gonna be shot off. Okay, and first of all, they're able to fly over that wall, man. Okay, so that's a false dream that Trump is pitching to the people, right? It says, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods. It's talking about all the nations that came over here to America, that they as immigrants, they came over years ago, right, to become rich here in America, man, and they have gotten themselves a lot of wealth, right? A lot of possessions and goods, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Sheba and the Dan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, thus saith the Lord power. In that day, when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shalt thou not know it? Right, because the Most High, right, because the Most High, that's his whole purpose, to bring us back into our land. And all nations, not only Gog and Magog, are going to know it, but all nations are going to know that we are the children of Israel and that the Most High is with us because he brought us into our land, back into our land, and he destroyed the nations, man. And he put them under his feet and under our feet. 15th verse, and thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, because that's where Russia is, in the north, right? Thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. So I'm gonna stop there and continue in the next part. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there at the 15th verse, right? Ezekiel 38 verse 15, and then I'll come back to continue this dealing with this lesson surrounding the 70th anniversary of NATO. All right. So with that, I'm Elder Soccer Run signing off. Shalom.